My dad once told me a story. When Adam and Eve were cast out of the Garden of Eden, God took the key to the door of Eden and shattered it into a million pieces. An angel in heaven finally approached God and asked, "There are so many problems in the world today. If people on earth found the pieces to the key to Eden, they could reassemble the pieces and return to a state of perfection, where nobody knows from want, and where the problems that exist would be gone. Will there ever come a time when the people on earth find the shattered pieces?" God put his hand on the angel's shoulder and replied, "Did it never occur to you that maybe the people on earth are the shattered pieces?" This is my friend Justin. I cannot remember a time when Justin was not a part of my life. Justin was born with Fragile X syndrome, a genetic condition commonly associated with autism and on the spectrum along with a host of neurodevelopmental disabilities that affect millions of children worldwide. Justin has an incredible sense of spatial relations. Sometimes, when he does a floor puzzle, he already sees the completed puzzle in his head and is just connecting the dots. Justin is also highly observant of his surroundings, even when you think he isn't listening. Characters in movies or stories that go unnoticed by most people become active parts of Justin's vocabulary, and his associations between people he meets and who they represent in his life are remarkable. One of Justin's difficulties is his anxiety, a common trait among children with Fragile X, which makes it difficult for him to transition from one activity to another. Change has a dramatic impact on Justin. When Justin goes from his house to his car, it is as if he is going from one world to another. The effects of Justin's anxieties, especially when transitioning, are numerous. Back and forth pacing, nervously repeating phrases, and of most concern, seizures that sometimes require Justin to be hospitalized. Since the age of 7, I volunteered for a foundation Justin's parents created, the Fly With Me Fund, which helps families affected by Fragile X afford the costs of traveling to clinics throughout the United States for diagnosis and treatment. When I was younger, Justin's parents, Shari and Brian, organized walkathons, half-mile runs, and other events to bring family, friends, and businesses together to support their goal to help other families in need. In 9th grade, I was part of a team of 4 high school students. Me, my brother Ben, Justin's sister Haley, and a neighbor, J.D. Jebbia, who wanted to help Justin with his anxiety. Together, we invented a game called the Magic Arrows to help children with Fragile X organize their days and ease their anxiety when transitioning between activities. The Magic Arrows is a fun schedule tracker that breaks activities down into simple steps. As each step is achieved, children mark their progress by moving around a track, similar to a board game. Children who experience anxiety when transitioning between its steps are subtly encouraged to complete that step by spinning one of 2 magic arrows that offer them a reward for successfully moving forward, or provides a choice of activities to help accomplish the next step. In this way, the magic arrows targeted lower and higher functioning users. One side empowered users with a visual sense of achievement as they tracked their day or an activity in a fun and game-like manner. The other side helped users transition from one task to another by giving players a subtle diversion that allowed them to get past their anxiety. The Magic Arrows became a community-wide effort involving over 50 high school and middle school students, administrators, teachers, and local businessmen. 20 prototypes were manufactured. Our game received a provisional United States patent, and we were invited to give a presentation at the 2014 International Fragile X Conference in Anaheim, California. During our time in Anaheim, I manned an exhibitor table to display our invention, and spoke with families and professionals who attended the conference. The response was overwhelming. Parents asked if our prototypes could be purchased. Clinical researchers asked if they could use the game in their cognitive testing methods. An international community expressed their appreciation for something we did, because they believed it could change their lives. When we returned from California, we had dreams of doing more, negotiating a deal with a toy manufacturer who would market and distribute the Magic Arrows worldwide, aligning ourselves with umbrella organizations that serve the Fragile X and other neurodevelopmentally disabled populations, and seeking to change the worldwide community we had come to call our own. Sometimes, the dreams we set for ourselves don't become reality. We were told if we had manufactured 10,000 commercial copies of the Magic Arrows, stored them in our garage, and then sold our inventory, a toy manufacturer might be interested. This is my garage. This is my garage with one of the prototypes of the magic arrows. This is what I estimate my garage would look like with 10,000 prototypes of the magic arrows. Despite the appeal of the challenge, I did not have the resources or the capability to become a private fulfillment center. Summer turned to fall. Fall quickly turned to winter, and then to spring and summer. I assumed the magic arrows would recede into my memory as an incredibly worthwhile experience that went no further. In July 2015, my brother was interviewed by CBS News in New York about our work with the magic arrows. The CBS interviewer asked Ben what advice he would give to others looking to make a difference in the world. Find the Justin in your life, Ben said. I was fortunate. I already had Justin in my life. After Ben's interview, we received letters from across the country, including teachers, therapists, and from a grandmother in Pennsylvania whose 3-year-old grandson Sam has Fragile X. I didn't know if our game could help anyone, but reading these letters forced me to ask myself, what if we could help one person? I didn't want the magic arrows to be just a memory. Dreams shouldn't end that quickly. So in my junior year of high school, I embarked on a project to develop the magic arrows into a computer app. No garage would be needed, but the challenges ahead would be unlike any I had faced before. I followed through on half a dozen leads to program developers, recent college graduates, volunteer organizations that focus on those with disabilities, private individuals who create their own apps. None could put in the time or attention I felt was needed. My search went on for nearly 2 months, but it was important to me to find the right person. In November, I met Danielle Lariche, a website developer from New Jersey who was involved with projects targeted to special needs communities, including those with neurodevelopmental issues. The connection with Daniel was immediate, and he agreed to take on my project. During December and January, I worked with Daniel to lay out the basic concept of the magic arrows. While I wanted to remain true to the original concepts of the game, computer technology offered so many options as compared to the physical prototype. I learned about programming flowcharts, mapping out the step-by-step processes of a computer app, and the choices that are made to create actions and consequences in an app, and storyboards to ensure that the game went from point to point and from image to image correctly. Throughout February and March, I worked with Daniel on event framing, seeing the basic constructs of the app laid down in picture-by-picture form. Wherever possible, Daniel and I kept costs down by doing the work ourselves: public domain sound libraries, pre-stock images, creating our own rules, and game instructions. By April, Daniel brought in a development team: Thomas from Greece to handle all programming and coding needs, Spike from New Jersey to handle our imaging needs, and Pavan from India to set up the website to service users and customers. We met once a week, every Friday. One week, we would work on the setting features. Another week, we would focus on characters and images. With Daniel as my guide, we built the basic framework of the Magic Arrows app. In the middle of April, the Fragile X Foundation website featured an article on the Magic Arrows app and asked for volunteers interested in being part of a 2-week test pilot in June. Our plan was to get quick feedback from a large population and then make wholesale modifications and improvements to the app, rather than small, intermittent changes. The article also appeared on the NFXF Facebook page and in an email sent to the entire NFXF mailing list. Through these media outlets, we hoped to get 20 volunteers. The first night, 2 families contacted me to volunteer. You cannot imagine the rush of excitement when someone takes you seriously and responds to your request for help. When I awoke the next morning, I had 12 more emails. 16 more emails were waiting for me when I got home from school. By the time I went to bed, I had 40 volunteers. After a week, I had 80 volunteers. The emails I received were from caring, loving parents, hopeful the app could change their children's lives, and willing to be part of something that might impact not only their children, but all children in the Fragile X and special needs communities. Throughout May, we started to finalize different aspects of the app that would eventually become part of the completed program: boy characters, girl characters, spinning arrows, and selection buttons. Our goal was for Daniel and his team to have a completed 1.0 or alpha version of the app in time for our test pilot in June. At the same time, I corresponded with parents with questions about the app specific to their children or just to keep them updated on the app's development. I reached out to professionals in and out of the Fragile X community to seek feedback on the app. I was fortunate to receive commitments from Barbara Haas-Givler, an educational and behavioral specialist at the Geisinger Institute in Pennsylvania, one of the 26 clinics in the United States that study, diagnose, and treat Fragile X. Cecilia McCartan, the founder of the McCartan Foundation in New York and one of the leading proponents of early intervention for children diagnosed with autism. Linda Brill, a clinical social worker in New York with experience with neurodevelopmentally challenged children. And Cheryl Karp, the director of a preschool program in Long Island, New York, who has over 3 decades of experience with children on and off the spectrum. I worked with a marketing specialist to create a questionnaire for my parent volunteers to help facilitate feedback on all aspects of the app: settings, functionality, degree of ease for users, and most importantly, whether the app achieved its desired results. My 3 goals were to get feedback on the game, to track user success and progress using the app, and to find out if there was a market for the Magic Arrows app. May 20th, 2016 was a special day. Daniel, Thomas, and Spike completed the alpha version of the Magic Arrows app. Over the following week, I spent a couple of hours each day playing with the app. My mom told me that one of the first things you do when you have a child is crawl around on your hands and knees to see exactly where that child might go. In the same way, I tried to put myself in the place of a player with Fragile X and see where they might venture. By the end of the Memorial Day weekend, I had played through the app so many times I felt I knew it backwards and forwards. I compiled a list of a dozen or so questions to address with Daniel. Some were minor, images that I thought would better correspond to a step, or the look of the game characters. Other issues were more significant, the functioning of the spinners, or allowing users to create their own customized boards. Big or small, I wanted to feel good about every app detail. 51 of our original 80 volunteers and our 4 professional experts committed to using the app and providing feedback. The volunteers came from 34 different families. They represented 20 states in the United States and 4 continents throughout the world. We had children as young as 3 and young adults in their 30s. Children who were the only ones in their families with Fragile X, and some from families that had 2 or 3 children with Fragile X. Some families were surrounded by a vast network of professional and family support, while others were single parents raising children on their own with little outside help. The Magic Arrows app focuses on 5 project boards: getting dressed, school days, visiting a doctor, going to a restaurant, and getting ready for bed. Each project is broken down into 8 sequential steps. Each step must be completed before a player can move on to the next step. A star indicates when a step has been completed. In this way, players visually see their progress moving around a board game and learn to complete activities that are integral to their lives. To assist users in transitioning from one step to another without anxiety, the Magic Arrows app allows players to access either an activity wheel or a reward wheel. If a particular step involves a choice, say eating dinner or putting on a shirt, the caretaker can create 2 to 4 choices and let the player spin the magic arrow to choose the activity: chicken nuggets or pizza, the blue shirt or the green shirt, or the reward: calling grandma, watching a movie, or doing a puzzle for finishing that step. The feedback during the test pilot was divided into 3 categories. First, children wanted the Magic Arrows to include more activities in their lives. Second, parents wanted the app to appeal to older children trying to master other activities. Finally, volunteers wanted to customize activities. In effect, the volunteers wanted more from the Magic Arrows than just the 5 project boards we created, and wanted a greater degree of flexibility built into the app. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked with Daniel and his team to fix minor functionality issues with the Magic Arrows and to create as many as 10 new project boards: getting a haircut, going on a long car trip, meeting someone for the first time, having a playdate, celebrating a holiday, and figuring out how to offer customized boards to users, even if this was part of the first updated version of the app down the line. The 3-week process was exhausting, but exhilarating at the same time. Last week, I finished the final piece of my project: an application to the United States Copyright Office that will officially register the Magic Arrows as an intellectual property belonging to the Fly With Me Fund. 100% of proceeds from sales of the Magic Arrows app will be donated to the Fly With Me Fund for its mission to help those in need and to help find a cure. Having completed this last piece, I prepared for my trip to San Antonio to man my own exhibitor booth at this year's International Fragile X Conference and to give my own presentation. My name is Sarah Moelis. I'm entering my senior year at Lindbergh High School. I'm the president of my school's National Honor Society chapter, the co-captain of my varsity tennis team, and in the top 10% of my graduating class. I've worked hard to achieve what I have, but I've been fortunate nonetheless. My goal is to work with children, either as a teacher or as a psychologist. So what is the end of my presentation? Will the magic arrows change lives? Will the money raised from the app help find a cure for Fragile X? Perhaps it is not for me to know yet, maybe sooner than when I started. When I began, my friend Justin inspired me to help. Today, I have new friends. From Maine, Iowa, and Washington, to Hawaii, Nebraska, and Africa. From California, Minnesota, and Indiana, to Texas, Maine, and Europe. From Colorado, Florida, and Kentucky, to Missouri, Connecticut, and Asia. The Magic Arrows app is now commercially available throughout the world. In many ways, however, completing the app is only the first step. Yet, with each new step I take, I will remember the hopes of the parents and faces of the children I worked with that encouraged me to continue my project. I share one email that I received from a parent who wrote to me in April. She was volunteer number 29. I am writing to you from Afghanistan. Hope this mail finds you well. I have two sons, Ferdaz, 9 years old, and Iman, 5 years old. My oldest son has Fragile X syndrome. In Afghanistan, we don't have any treatments or special schools. I need your help to rescue my son. Everyone has a Justin in their life, and that person crosses all lines of gender, race, ethnicity, creed, and nationality. They are children with goals and aspirations of their own who share common bonds with each other and with all children. They laugh. They smile. They hope. They achieve. They know no hatred or malice. They are full of love. So I stand here today, grateful to the Silver family for taking me into their lives and into their hearts. Indebted to Daniel for helping me to cross the finish line and proving to me that a vision could become a reality. And humbled by the NFXF and Fragile X community who opened their arms to me 2 years ago and left the door open for me to return this week and speak to you today. Most importantly, I want to express my appreciation to the volunteer families who gave their time and effort to help in my efforts. I had the opportunity to work with and perhaps help wonderful children and their parents and to experience the joy that this endeavor brought me. I am now aware, more than ever before, that for those for whom every day is a struggle, there is a challenge to be faced head-on, to be enjoyed and to be savored, that they are willing to embrace. It is life, one step at a time. Thank you.